Good afternoon, everyone. It's a Friday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on this late August 29th, 2025. And as we get set to welcome in Labor Day weekend, which means we are kissing goodbye summer, we are rolling right into the fall season. And with that, NFL, college football, pennant races heating up in baseball. And you got to start. And by the way, get social with us. As always, you can follow along. Very easy to do. XIG, the YouTube channel, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. John Biller in about 15 or so. Lloyd Vance, bottom of the hour on a What the Frig Friday. By the way, what made you say what the frig in the world of sports on this Friday? But got to start with yesterday's news of Micah Parsons getting traded. Dallas Cowboys trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And I will be the first one to say, when this news came down, I was not shocked. I was not surprised. I got hammered on the air the last several weeks for basically saying, don't be shocked if the Dallas Cowboys trade Micah Parsons. Don't be shocked if Jerry Jones has had it up to here with Micah Parsons. Don't be shocked if Jerry Jones and the Cowboys brass looked at Micah Parsons as a flash splash player, a one-dimensional player at times, not big enough to really hit that hole against some of the bigger offensive lines in the NFL, i.e. the Philadelphia Eagles, not willing to pay him. And also the fact that he was doing a podcast during the regular season, which probably pissed off a lot of players and that Cowboys brass. And what happened yesterday? The Cowboys trade Micah Parsons. Now, good player, at times very good player, overrated player. You get 2 first-round picks. You get Kenny Clark. They were not going to win this year with Micah Parsons. They're not going to win without Micah Parsons. They're not a Super Bowl team. And look, again, ultimately, sometimes you have to make the unpopular move. And maybe this is the contrarian. Maybe you guys don't want to hear this. I can tell you right now, Dallas Cowboys fans probably don't want to hear what I'm about to say. But I actually give Jerry Jones credit. I give Jerry Jones credit for this move today or yesterday. I really do. Everyone can sit there and they can hammer Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones actually, he made the right call. He did. Now, we'll get into the whole issue with the agent and the contract. And I know that, again, some Cowboys fans are absolutely pissed off over the last 24 hours or so. You look at the odds, does it really change how we look at the Dallas Cowboys from a betting standpoint? No, it doesn't. But I'll say this, Jerry Jones made the right call. Jerry Jones made the right call, and it bothers some Cowboys fans because they look at him as an old guy that has no idea what the hell he's doing. You have to do stuff. It's never an easy out, right? And you can look at this and say Parsons was eligible for that contract extension last offseason. The Cowboys could have made him the highest non-paid quarterback in history if they paid him. I'm not paying him $200 million. That's number one. If they paid him $34 million a year or $34 million plus one more than Nick Bosa was paid on the deal, again, you're waiting for other players to get paid. And as I mentioned too, they did this with CeeDee Lamb. They did this with Dak Prescott. These are players that had to get paid. But I would rather get 2 first-round draft picks than give him $200 million. And I know they're going to get ripped for the trade, but I think it's the right move. The march for Arch begins. The march for Arch begins. Arch Manning. And like I said, I know that people look at some of these moves and they say, well, you can't trade a guy like Micah Parsons. Why not? Why not? Guy never shows up in a big spot. You can double team him. You can chip him. Everyone thinks, oh my goodness, you have to. You have to figure out a way to pay this guy. He's the heartbeat of the Dallas Cowboys. When we've seen him in a big spot make a play? Never in his career. Plus the fact that, again, listen, that he was going on the podcast. I bet you if you back some of these, the coaching staff in a corner and they said, all right, Jerry, what are you going to do? And Jerry Jones says, we're going to trade him. I bet you that they backed him. I bet you that they backed him in this play because they realize you're not going to play, you're not going to pay him what he wants. He took a shot. He went after Jerry Jones. Now, did Jerry Jones do the right things here? No. There's that report coming out that, again, he negotiated through around the agent. The agent basically said, here we go. But I'll say this, and I'll say it again. Listen, every player, every player in the NFL, this guy, this argument, people want to compare him again to Lawrence Taylor is a disgrace. It's a joke. You're not going to compare this man to Lawrence Taylor. Don't do Lawrence Taylor. Don't do LT a disservice with this nonsense. We always want to back the player. You know what? This is the one time I'm actually backing Jerry Jones, as crazy as it sounds. And I've spoken to a ton of Dallas Cowboys fans. And you know what they said? They were fine with this. They were fine with this move. They weren't bent out of shape. This, the whole social media, the whole sports world reacts. Wow, everyone from Watt to Michael Irvin, who was wrong, to Cam Newton, to J.J. Watt, everyone to Brady. Everyone's got their own opinions and their takes and their tweets, this, that, the other thing. It's like thinking this guy's the next coming of Christ. He's not. He's not. So like I said, this is not a, a move that, oh my God, shaking the foundation, because at the end of the day, they're rebuilding. They know that. They know that. And you're giving up, yes, a very good player, but there's no chance in hell I'm paying him $200 million. I'm not. And again, listen, now a team that can never stop the run makes a move for a player that can help them stop the run, and we're still getting still ripping them. We're still getting on them. Because people look at the splash plays of social media and they say, I can't believe you're getting rid of this guy. I can't believe you just traded this guy. And I'll tell you, what does the betting public think? Well, first of all, their Super Bowl odds were plus 2,200. It went down to plus 1,300. So that's about 25% of the bets now have been on the Packers to win the Super Bowl. They weren't winning the NFC, which has dropped. They weren't winning the NFC East, which has dropped. I mean, no movement, plus 675. Plus 2,000 or plus 3,000. Everyone knows they stink. And that game coming up next Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles, that line moved to half a point. I mean, they were going to get, even without Micah Parsons. Okay? Now, does this resemble Herschel Walker? Yes. The trade. Can you make an argument? Can you make the case that Seattle got more back, with Jamal Adams, who turned out to be a bust as well, a one-hit wonder with the Jets? The gripe with the Cowboys fan is they should have got more back for Micah Parsons. That's fair. And time will tell what they do with these 2 first-round draft picks. That's absolutely fair. That's allowed. That can be assessed. That can be debated. That can be talked about. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. But as I mentioned, sometimes you have to do something that's very uncomfortable. And this is where I give Jerry Jones credit. This is not, typically what would they do? They would cave in and pay the player. It's exactly what they would do. They would pay the player, and they would feel like they were boxed in. They have to make a move. They can't get out of it, and we're just going to cave. And he didn't this time. And when the player goes after the owner, the player's losing. The owner's always going to win. And you can sit there and criticize Jones all you want. And you might think this is a 180. It's a contrarian take. But listen, he made the right call. He made the right call. It had to be done. You had a malcontent of a player, period. A player that came out and said, I don't need to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, then turns around, does a 180 and says, I want to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. His comments told you everything you needed to know. And that's why they eventually kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And again, I have no problem with this. Is it are you getting a bunch of equity back? like you did for a guy like Herschel Walker, different era, different time. You're not. Are the Packers better today on defense? Sure, they are. They are. You look around the NFC East right now, and hey, if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Giants fan, you're a Washington fan, you're kind of happy you get rid of him, right? Kenny Clark's a good player, by the way. He's a good player. But again, show me where Micah Parsons has made game-wrecking, game-changing plays. You can't. You can't. So let Green Bay pay him $47 million a year. And Green Bay was pretty much viewed as a Super Bowl contender, right? Because they're still a young team. Now, all of a sudden, you've got that, the trade rights, so to speak. You lock him in for a couple of years. You paid him. The price is not all that steep when you look at the quality and the age. But again, for a player turning 26 in May, and you look at the stats, the padding of the stats, 50 sacks in the first 4 NFL seasons, I don't look at him as a game wrecker. I don't. I really don't. Would you have liked 3 or 4 first-round draft picks? Sure. But that's not how the NFL works. It's not. And I don't know. Are the Packers going to have buyer's remorse if this guy gets hurt 6 games into his Packer tenure? Who knows? But now, all of a sudden, with his presence on the edge, you got Gary, takes a little pressure on him. Packers are going to be fine. The Dallas Cowboys already told you they're not all in. They're not going to win it this year or next year. They're not. They're just not. But you have a nice backup. You have a nice plan B and a guy like Kenny Clark. You do. You do. And like I said, for them getting Clark back in the deal rather than a young player, yeah, you can question that. Okay, fine. Is he going to be on the team next year? I think he is. He's under contract for 2 more years. Would you have liked another player and another draft pick? Fine. But it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you got to make the tough changes. The tough changes. Like, again, if they decided to do this left off season, then it's a totally different animal. It's a totally different conversation we're having. He chose not to. He chose not to. Jerry Jones chose not to. They could have done this left off season, and maybe they were just taking a wait and see approach. But once it started to bleed into March, April, OTAs, draft, training camp, you kind of knew. You kind of knew exactly where this was going. And listen, it's for those that are shocked. I'm really not shocked. All right, a couple minutes past 5 o'clock hour. We'll see what you guys have to say as well. We'll open it up. Don't forget, get connected with me on social media, Average Q on Q. A lot of comments coming in from Cowboys fans, and we will certainly read them off to see what the Cowboys fans have to say. Don't forget, also, too, Lloyd Vance going to join me in the bottom half of the hour. We're going to punch up John in a moment. D chimes in, who is a big-time Cowboys fan. Yeah, man, I'm actually okay with it. Just don't think he's worth that much. He wasn't a game wrecker or a game changer. He was good against bad teams. I mean, listen, that's my sentiment. We just look at the numbers. We look at the player. We look at the Dallas Cowboys. We look at the star. We look at the name on the back of the jersey. And right away, everyone thinks, oh, my God, how can you do this? How can you get rid of the guy? Hey, man, it's the NFL. Players get moved. Players get moved. And I don't know, for some reason, we are just so enamored with this. There's no way you can move this guy. There's no way you can trade this player. Absolutely not. No way. He's the franchise player. Don't compare this guy to Lawrence Taylor. That's a disservice to Lawrence Taylor. Don't compare him to Lawrence Taylor. He's not a game wrecker. He's just not. He really isn't. He's just not. And like I said, you saw the difficulties against the Eagles' offensive line. I mean, you saw it over the last several years. You chip him, take him out of the play. He's not going to make a play. He's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. All right, a couple minutes past 5 o'clock. Let's welcome in our good friend from Fansided, John Bueller, kind enough to join us on a What the Freak Friday edition of On Q. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, doing well. Heard everything you were saying about Micah Parsons. That caught me completely off guard. Sure you got thoughts about that, or you want to hear what I have to say about that?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, now what, my comments caught you off guard, or the trade caught you off guard, or both?
Just the trade. I mean, let's just be completely honest here. We have crossed the Al Davis Rubicon of just absolute wacky for Jerry Jones a long time ago. This is not a serious franchise for as long as he has any control on the team. Uh, what a disaster for the Cowboys. And I think this is a good trade for the Packers. This gives them an opportunity to really make some headway in a very tough division. I still have Detroit winning the division, but I think this certainly raises the Packers ceiling. We'll see what happens with Parsons. I believe it's only like 1 year, so he'll test free agency next year. Maybe he likes it in Green Bay, but again, give the Packers credit for getting somebody like a Reggie White, a Charles Woodson. This is how you win
Sure.
Super Bowls. Like you won two with the combination of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers over 35 years. Like this is a way to help raise the floor for the team around Jordan Love. But look, every other star edge rusher basically got their money this year, not Parsons, and it just makes the Cowboys look really dumb. But at the same point, I heard what you're saying. He's not Lawrence Taylor. There's only one Lawrence Taylor, and that's Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, but so you're saying that Jerry Jones has hit that Al Davison, right,
Yeah,
lexicon of what the hell is he doing? And I know people, we kind of clip all the sound when he's talking about, did I speak to Michael? And he meant Michael Irvin, not Micah Parsons. And I know they went back and forth, and that's the narrative and the agenda that some people want to push because, some Dallas fans are pissed off. Some members of the Dallas Cowboys media that covered the team that had a good relationship with Micah Parsons are probably annoyed. I mean, there's no objectivity. Where is it, right? But I actually think sometimes, yes, did you want to get back a haul, right? Like you did years ago with Herschel Walker. Do you want those to be top 5, top 10 draft picks? No, they're not going to. This is a classic point where Jerry Jones's ego got in the way, period, period. And I just think he had enough of the player. And I think when the player decides to attack the owner, no matter how good you are, the owner is going to find a way to move you. And the fact that this report comes out now, John, that everyone backed the move within the coaching staff and the front office kind of tells you all you need to know maybe about what's going on behind closed doors that we're not privy to regarding Micah Parsons.
really sounds like that Brian Schottenheimer would like to be more than a one and done head coach. If that's that tells me, and the front office is people that are related to Jerry Jones and Will McClay. Again, they all love to keep their jobs here, but you get all these picks to do what? To reach on the next Tyler Booker at 12. Like I don't know. This is
March for Arch. And by the way, I've coined it. I got to copyright the March for Arch, right? They're going to be a bad team, but they weren't going to win
no.
this year. See, people look at it like this. If his name's not Micah Parsons, if he's not that all world, that hybrid defensive end linebacker, 50 sacks and, 4 seasons, doing the podcast, we're not talking about this. We're just saying, Dallas Cowboys or so and so, the Colts traded away or Carolina traded away, a decent player. The other elephant in the room is I said this last week and I got hammered for saying it. I actually believe the fact that he does his pod, that he says what he says, that he's called out the coaching staff, that he's called out teammates. I don't think that sat well with the organization. And I think if you start to check off the boxes, I'm not saying that's one of the reasons, but if you go all the way down, maybe it's reason 27 why they were like, no, we don't want to deal with this crap anymore.
It probably pains the Cowboys to admit this, but they're probably closer to the Bengals being a mom and pop shop than they would ever want to admit. Like if Parsons was playing for like another organization, like they would this wouldn't be that huge of a deal that he's got his own podcast, speaking his own mind and everything like that. It just feels that like the game has passed the Cowboys organization by once again. Again, this like from what you're saying, a divorce here was imminent, probably more so than what you or I or anybody probably knew. But I still can't believe that they just traded him away. It's like at this point of the season, it's like Jerry Jones's ego is the size of a dying sun.
Yeah, but see, like, okay, so some of the comments, I mean, you guys are funny with some of your comments today. Like, you guys, what happens is, I've been doing this for a minute now. And what happens is people look at players and they think they're invincible. And when a player gets traded, what happens if Parsons tears his ACL in week 1 and never recovers? Or in week 3 and never plays it down again? And the Dallas Cowboys get 2 first-round draft picks that become contributors and then win a Super Bowl in 3 years. Like, sometimes I kind of know what the hell I'm talking about with my opinions and my takes. And at times I also feel that some stuff from the listening audience, it's purely fans and stat driven and fantasy driven. It's delusional. Now, Scott brings up a good point. I have no problem with the trade Cowboys did well, but what happens when first rounders don't pan out or come looking for money from Jerry? Could it come back to haunt them? Maybe or not. It's a good point because now you look at, okay, the precedent has been set with a guy like Micah Parsons. Does this mean now Jerry Jones going forward, every time a player wants going to get paid, is going to trade him? Here's the problem that, again, people don't want to discuss. We are not in that locker room. We don't know the conversations. We have no idea what the hell really went on between Parsons, his agent, Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you that because it's three people that know, the three that I just mentioned. That's number one. Number two, I'm telling you guys right now, I saw a former player or a current player tweet the same thing I mentioned weeks ago. When he goes on his podcast and starts mocking his teammates, you should have had to pick, and they're laughing and yucking it up and calling out the defensive scheme, the offensive scheme. I don't give a shit what type of player or what level you are. That does not sit well with the ownership group. It just doesn't. I know that for a fact from guys that cover the team. That did not sit well with Jerry Jones. And I'm telling you guys right now, I believe that was somewhat of a factor of him just saying, no, I'm not paying this guy. You're going to go at me like that. You're going to criticize the organization and how we run things here with the Dallas Cowboys. I'll trade your ass. And that's exactly what he did.
I'll throw this in here. This is something that I've never really quite been able to put away with Parsons. He did sit out the final year of his college season during COVID. Like he could have played that last year at Penn State. I understand that the Big Ten didn't really prioritize playing initially, but like that's why he fell to the Cowboys at 11. That's why everybody else could have taken him. Like had he have played, had it been a regular season, he would have been a top 5 pick, and maybe we're having this issue right now with like the Bengals or the Falcons or the
Yeah.
Jets or somebody
Yeah.
else that was taken to that awful 2021 draft or anything like that. But maybe he's not as much of a team player as what people wanted to believe he could be.
Sure. Sure.
So, but
The
he, he's got an opportunity to prove that in Green Bay, kind of like what George Pickens ironically gets to prove in Dallas. But they're both going to be free agents come March, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, look, and I mentioned this too in the beginning. Jerry Jones, they could have got a deal done last offseason. They didn't get a deal done. You know, they paid a lot of players. They played Dak, they played CD Lamb. That's the nature of the NFL. It's a good comment from Ball 316. You look at this move now, and do you think free agents would be a little weary to
Yeah.
come to Dallas?
Yeah, because I don't feel like they're going to be treated with respect here. And again, like you only have so much time to make money in this league. This is a sport. This is a collision sport, a gladiator sport of violence. You're going to get hurt. And when your owner is just going to be messing with your money, why bother? I mean, every other team in the NFC has been to a conference championship more recently than the Cowboys. I think there are teams out there that don't have the brand equity of the Cowboys that I think people would be much more inclined to go play for. Like, I don't know, literally anybody.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, again, it's how we push it and perceive it and the narrative, right? Because now we're going to say this guy knows, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Now you mentioned, the lack of respect. Is it because of the conversations going back and forth via the media with, Jerry Jones, or the fact that they just didn't pay Micah Parsons? I'm sorry, on no God's green earth am I paying him $200 million. I'm just not.
They've kind of, or the Cowboys have kind of been doing this with like their first round or Pro Bowl caliber players for years now. This isn't the first time. This is the first time it's kind of reached a boiling point. Like every other offseason prior to this, it's been like, oh, we're going to pay Diggs. Oh, we're going to pay Lamb. We're going to pay Dak again. And eventually they do, but not this time. And I understand that like Parsons may have priced his way out, but you let 4 other guys get paid ahead of him. You could have done this. And also, Parsons hasn't gotten like the money of some of these other guys, like what TJ Watt was already a second
Sure.
contract, Trey
Sure.
Hendrickson's on a second contract, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. Like this didn't have to be this way, but they allowed it to be. And kind of feels like a very convenient excuse to move on from him for me.
Yeah, look, I mean, they weren't going to win the Super Bowl
No.
this year. I mean, you and I both know that. And they're not built to win it next year or the year after. I just think, listen, the Packers, they broke the bank and now it's on the Packers, right? And hopefully the Packers don't have buyer's remorse. They're basically saying we're going for it. We have a young team. We got a young quarterback. We got some weapons. Now we can take some pressure off of our defensive guys as well. But again, I'm cautioning guys out there. I'm cautioning, the football fan out there, go back. I watched a lot of Micah Parsons because Dallas played in the NFC East. So it's a division, obviously, that I gravitate towards. And I just can't recall a spot or a game where you said, man, he's wrecking the game. He's making that big splash play. Look, Seattle, when they made the move for Jamal Adams was a flash in the pan with the Jets, and he capitalized off of it. Now he's just kind of bounced around. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with, again, Micah Parsons, but, I understand taking the player side, and I understand saying pay the player. I think some people that don't like the move, and rightfully so, don't like the way Jerry Jones is out there in the media doing, what he's doing and saying what he's saying, and he's got the power. And, Jerry Jones does his radio spots, the camera's on Jerry. He talks after games. No owners talk after games. And I think that aspect, John, and tell me if I'm wrong, that rubs people the wrong way now that Parsons is traded. They look at it and say, well, here you go. You got a rich old white owner who's got Texas oil money, and they trade away their best player, right? And it's like they don't pay him, and they should have paid him. Like, I feel as though it's because of the way Jerry Jones has acted, the things he says, how he does business. People are like, well, he did Micah Parsons dirty. When I come back and say, well, wait a second, tell me a time where a all-pro level or an all-star caliber player took a shot at the owner and survived it.
I think that's fair. I don't think it's necessarily that he's an octogenarian white oil magnet, if you will. I think it's kind of more like there is like another layer to this. The fact that he's got the weekly press conference. You don't really see anybody else out there of the other
No
31 owners, if you want to call Mark Murphy with the Packers in that group. Nobody else is doing this. Like, you're not seeing John Mara doing this for your Giants or Arthur Blank doing this for my Falcons.
Yeah.
It's just it's a different sort of thing. And I think people are just kind of sick and tired of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, look, no one's saying, and no one's, listen, I'm not defending him. No one's saying he's an astute businessman. All I'm saying is sometimes you make a move to make the move. Sometimes you just want to get rid of the player. Like, why can't people just understand that? Like, I feel as though it's so hard for people to comprehend. Sometimes you sit there, it's like a relationship. You want to stay together, but then you look at her, she looks at you, and you're like, my God, I can't stand this person anymore. They're bringing nothing to the table. I'm wasting my time here.
Jerry Jones looked at this team. It's like, maybe they're going 7-10, but you know what's happening this weekend? College football, and I'm going to steal all the headlines. That's
well, that's true. I mean, I listen. I wanted to ask you real quick. I know we got a couple minutes. Texas, Ohio State, obviously that stands out. I know a lot of games stand out, but kind of your overall. Is this going to be a scenario come Monday? We're talking about the hoodie and UNC shocking the world, or are we going to lead off with Arch Manning going on the road and Texas beating Ohio State by more than 14, by the way?
I got Ohio State winning.
Really? I actually like Texas in this game.
The Arch stuff's kind of been overstated. I mean, he played like small Catholic school football in New Orleans. Like, we're not talking about Julian Saint or Gunnar Stockton or really any other first-year starter at a traditional power like this to the degree of Arch Manning. He hasn't played anything like Ohio State. And again, I'm more than okay with being wrong. I think what we're going to be talking about is just the officiating and just how frustratingly maddening Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian can be as head coaches. And I hope for the fans there in Chapel Hill that the Tar Heels come out on top over the Horned Frogs, just because it'd be really sad if Bill Belichick didn't win his first home game at UNC.
Yeah, I love it. Vince says, can you comprehend? We're telling you it was a stupid decision, like when you back Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold won 14 games last year. I mean, and I still got hammered for it. You guys call it a stupid decision all you want because you don't agree with it. Again, that's the problem. You don't like the move, so it's a stupid decision because you didn't get a king's ransom back. But when Parsons turns around and maybe gets injured, maybe doesn't play to a Pro Bowl level, maybe the Packers don't win a divisional round or get to the NFC Championship, and Dallas is a little better than people anticipated in a year or two, then please come back on the air and give me my just due. It's a dumb decision because people don't agree with it. So it has to be a stupid decision. But all I'm saying, again, using the relationship analogy, maybe sometimes you just get so fed up. And like I said, if you keep walking in on your girl and she's cheating on you with your best friend, eventually you got to turn around and get your head out of your ass and say, I think it's time for us to break up. And like the fact that Parsons constantly kept taking digs at Jerry Jones, dude, you weren't going to win. Period.
I mean, it seemed like he wasn't gonna want to re-sign with the team anyways. So they're getting out ahead of this for better or worse. So
Yeah.
best of luck to the Packers and Cowboys in this post working relationship world, I guess.
Yes. All right. I know we're tight. What do you got on the pod this weekend? The mini pods.
The mini pods. Let's see, with Blog and Dirty reacting to Caleb McGarry being out for the year. That's really throwing a damper in the Falcons season. Bucks are kind of banged up, but we're looking at a pretty exciting Week 1 game there in the Atlanta with the Benz and everything like that with the Bucks. So we'll see what happens with the Falcons. I predicted every team that's going to make the playoffs, how far they're going to go, Super Bowl picks and whatnot. So just talked to myself for about 45, 50 minutes about football. Maybe breathed once or so in that. That was cool. Nice. And then, college football is full swing here. Me and my colleague, Cody Williams, we're all excited about Ohio State, Texas, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Florida State, and whatnot. So, yeah, it's full steam ahead here. It's almost September, most exciting time of the year.
Yeah, man. Listen, look forward to next week. A little longer segment. We're going to open up a little earlier, and we'll go through a lot more college football. We got Week 1 right around the corner in the NFL as well. But excellent stuff on Parsons and the Cowboys and the inside. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
Awesome. Take care. See you next week.
You got it. There you have it. Our guy, John Bueller from Fansided. You guys are killing me. D chimes in Q. I'm actually agreeing with you on this one. As a diehard Cowboys fan of 37 years, he was an overrated player. He was one-dimensional at times, never showed up in the big spot. I'm not saying Jerry Jones is a friggin' genius, but as you said, the move had to be done. It did. And again, sometimes you guys want to sit there. You don't like when players get traded. We want to push our narrative, our own agendas. We want to have our opinions, which is all well and good. You guys are entitled to it. It's free speech, man. You guys can come on and by the comments coming in, again, everyone's got a different take on this. But you guys wanted Jerry and the Cowboys to get this massive haul back like Herschel Walker back in the day. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. You guys want to read into what these picks might be, what they might be. Okay, let's project. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the Green Bay Packers, and nobody knows what's going to happen in 2-3 years with the Dallas Cowboys. I would never think I would come on the air and actually defend Jerry Jones and or the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm really not defending him. All I'm saying is you guys, it's like culture shock when a player gets traded. You got, oh my God, I can't believe you traded the player. I can't believe you did this. I can't, oh my God, what are they thinking? They're so, and sometimes maybe ownership knows a little more than the fan base. And I'm not saying that's the case right now. That's not what I'm saying. But players get traded in the NFL. That's it. They get traded. They get traded. I'm not company line, toting this, toting that. I'm not cashing a check. All I'm saying is players get traded. We get shocked. We get surprised. But players get moved. I remember when everyone sat there and said, you can't, yeah, no way. Eagles aren't going to, you're not going to bench her. You're not going to move. You're not going to get rid of Carson. You're not going to do it. You're not going to trade Donovan McNabb. He's a franchise quarterback. You're not going to do it. You're not. And oh, by the way, show of hands, and I have the audio, who predicted where he was going to the Washington Redskins at the time. Yeah, on Fox Sports down in Florida. So players get traded. Franchise players get moved. Stop acting like this guy is the next coming of Lawrence Taylor. He's not. He's a very good player. He will help out the Green Bay Packers, but the Cowboys decided to move on. That's it. It's not the end of the world. It's not. Cowboys hater herder. Can't wait. The bad team. BS prediction falls through for everyone until he says, what do we got here? Is Dak still guaranteed $231 million 4 years? This ends in 2026. March for Arch. Realistic. It is realistic. It is. All right, quick timeout. We got to come back. We'll punch up Lloyd Vance on the other side. I mean, I'm telling you guys today, man, it's a what the frig Friday, and I feel like it's a woosah Wednesday. I really do. Quick timeout, a lot more Cowboys comments and NFL on the other side. No, we don't mess around. We get back on the air quickly. It's getting a little chippy in the chat, I see. It is. Marcus in Delaware chimes in. Q, please correct these asses. Whoa, 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 Marcus. We're not going to call our listeners asses. First and foremost, you're right. He had a bunch of splash plays, 50 sacks in 4 games, 4 seasons, I think you meant, but never really made the impact that the Cowboys expected. That run defense stinks, and now they upgraded in Clark. I'm fine with the move. All right. Some people are fine. I don't know why so many people are just, again, we talk about it obviously because it's a big move, and it does affect the NFC East. And obviously, if you're a Washington fan, a Eagles fan, a Giants fan, again, you get him out of that division. Now, again, I'm telling you right now, how is it an idiotic take, Vince? It's not idiotic, first of all, and you sound like a friggin' jackass with some of your takes half the time. How is it an idiotic take? Why? Because you don't get a friggin' haul back? You guys you don't like the fact that I'm going against the grain and I have a friggin' opinion of my own. Tell me one part of my take that was, please, idiotic. One part. Did I defend Jerry? No, I didn't. Did I say he's an astute businessman? No. I laid it out to you that I wasn't paying Micah Parsons $200 million to be a guy that doesn't show up in the big spot, who never makes the big game-altering play, who you don't sit there and say, we got to build we got to chip this guy. We got to scheme around this guy. They don't. He's not Lawrence Taylor. He's not. You don't like the fact that I said Micah Parsons opens his friggin' big ass mouth on his podcast and rips the organization and the owner and the players, and that pissed Jerry Jones off. You don't like the fact that I said that Jerry Jones decided, you know what, this guy's not worth the headache. See, those are the things. So my take is not idiotic. You just don't agree with it. It's not idiotic. You just don't agree with it. And you guys are probably more pissed that I said last week, I want to be shocked if he got traded. So chalk up another one for me. He got traded. Chalk up another one. That's fine. You want to give me my flowers on a Monday? You can give me my flowers on a Monday. You don't want to give me the flowers today? You don't need to give me the flowers today. But I'm telling you guys, sometimes you guys are so sucked into friggin' fantasy football and the stats that you guys just don't know any better. You don't know any better. I'm here to educate you on a Friday. A person who is not idiotic is our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, Monday night, 8 to 9 on SR 1029. FM The Game joins me on a What the Frig Football Friday edition of On Q. I'm getting really friggin' annoyed, to be honest, with the listening audience today, Lloyd. I really am. Because I feel my take, again, was not idiotic. They just don't agree with me. But go ahead. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Everybody's going to have their take on this. And my thing is Jerry Jones, and we've talked about this, at 82 years of age, he's the owner, he's the general manager, and he just does things that make you scratch your head. He needs to give up that GM title. The team, I believe, Q, is worse today than it was before. Last year that defense gave up almost 28 points a game. And this was his major chess piece. Yes, Micah Parsons kind of nicked up here and there, not great against the run. But when I went back and looked at the roster, they really just don't have many other pieces now. You have Dante Fowler who comes over. He's kind of an underachiever coming from Washington. He had a big year there last year. But you just don't have a lot. And
okay, let me ask you a question. Let me stop you for a second.
Sure.
Because I appreciate everything you're saying. So let's just get this out of the way for a moment. We both agree that Jerry Jones will always be in control because it's his friggin' team, period. He's not until the day they'll rip it out of his hands when he leaves this earth. That's number one. Number two, we both agree he's not an astute businessman, and some of the moves he's made over the years, paying and overpaying some of these guys, have blown up in their face. So we agree to that, number two. Number three is this. Were they going to win this year? Were they going to compete this year? Because you came on the show and you said they were going to be bad.
Yeah. Okay. And we looked at their win total was 7.5, Q.
Okay.
And I didn't, I thought maybe they may beat it barely, get to 8.
Yep. Okay.
But when you look at the overall talent on this team, yeah, they have some pieces on the offense, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop anybody.
But Lloyd, they haven't been able to stop the run with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I'm talking about just points wise.
I know.
I think
I know. My point is this: are you paying Micah Parsons $200 million?
It's tough too because he's 26 years old, 12 sacks each season. For this team, yeah, they probably should have worked out. But he handcuffed himself, Jerry Jones, the general manager, by giving Dak Prescott that huge contract.
Right. So he could
and he blames
a shitty GM. Maybe he's not the best GM in the world. Is that breaking news? We know that. We already know that.
Yeah, and that's why they were 7-10, and CD got his money, Dak got his money, but now he couldn't fit Parsons in there, so he's saying, and it's him and Mulgada, the agent, going back and forth in the media. But it's a thing now where it's like Parsons, I think, kind of forced his hand the other night in the preseason game, laying on the table and kind of saying, basically, kiss my butt, Jerry, and you just don't do that. It's Jerry Jones' show down there. We know this. So
and listen, again, when we're talking about this team and where they're projected from, looking at how many wins, I don't care how many games they won last season. It's a whole new season. The odds makers are telling you right now they weren't going to win the NFC East. They weren't going to win the NFC. They weren't a Super Bowl contender. They're not. They're not, period. So you guys can sit there and wax poetic all you want about last season, which, oh, by the way, they stunk last season too. Don't tell me they were a good football team. They weren't a good football team last year. They were 7-10. Hence, Steve, they had more than 7 wins last year. You dudes just be talking to talking. Really? Really? Well, let me see who be talking to talking. They won 7 games. They were 7-10. Are you a Cowboys fan and you don't even friggin' know how many games they won last year? Steve Franchise. I love the handle, by the way, but you're just, do a little homework before you come on. You're trying to contribute to the show. They were 7-10 last year. They weren't an 8-win team. They weren't a 9-win team. They're not a 10-win team. They lost to Washington. They lost to the Eagles back-to-back to close out the season, 7-10. My liberal arts math. They weren't going to be a 9 or 10-win team this year. Okay? They weren't. So again, by all accounts, you have a player that's taking all these unwarranted shots, and I'm not condoning Jerry Jones. You have this report coming out that Jerry Jones and Micah had a deal in place, and the agent came in, but nobody wants to bring that up today. And the agent came in and basically squashed it. So nobody knows exactly what's going on behind closed doors. Nobody has any clue of the negotiating or the tactics or the conversations between the three. We have no idea, but we know something that's pretty valid, that everyone backed this move within the organization. I mean, what does that tell you? Is it because they backed it, they thought they were fearful for their job? Or they believed in Jerry Jones, they believed in this decision that the best move for the course of the franchise was to go forward without Micah Parsons?
Yeah, and that's Jerry pulling the strings there, and they're going to agree with him. And on my show this week, we talked about coaches on a hot seat. Schottenheimer was on a hot seat to begin with, Q.
Yeah,
of course. And nobody really wanted him, and they put him in place. And I've thought all along, if Belichick comes available, Saban comes available, these big names that Jerry Jones loves making that splash, he'd go for one of those types of guys and try to bring them in. So, this is a rudderless team because, as we said, he's the GM, he's controlling everything, and you're right, they had to divorce. So he got the best deal that he could. Green Bay came in there, 2 number ones, and Clark, who's a guy that's pretty solid nose tackle, position of need for them, and they're going to move forward. But a lot of these problems, as I always said, Jerry has created them because, let's face it, he's not drafting well as well.
Sure, Taco Charlton, the defensive end. Again, here's something, the Cowboys can't stop the run. They can't stop the run. They couldn't stop the run last year with Micah Parsons. They trade Micah Parsons. Now, all of a sudden, people are killing him. Well, you got to stop the run. It's like there's no win. There's no win. Like, were you just going to let this drag out? right? Are you going to let this drag out? Micah Parsons is going to sit there, be a malcontent, have some munchies on the bench during preseason, not dress for week 1, not dress for week 2. Then you guys are going to sit there and say, you know what, the hell with Micah Parsons, don't pay him. Or you're going to sit there and say, I can't believe they haven't paid him. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, what would have been the best resolution here? What would have been the best resolution, right? Seriously.
Yeah, Q, and you and I talked offline before. I thought all along they were going to keep him. You know what I mean? I thought they'd say, okay, maybe he sits out a game 1, no game check, et cetera, and they decide we need each other. But you know what? They did what's best for them, in Jerry Jones's opinion. He said, all right, ship them out. Let's try to build for the future. As you said, they knew going into this season that it's kind of a lame duck team in terms of just the talent on the roster. You know, the defense is very beat up. Javonte Williams at running back, you're really not sure what you're getting there. Dak Prescott, we all know, is the most overpaid player in the national.
He's injury prone.
And then the offensive line is in flux because they had Martin retire. So just so many things against this team. And I think they decided, you know what, let's build for the future, see what we can get. They got those 2 first rounders. Obviously, they're probably going to be, in the 20s because LaFleur typically wins about 12 games a season. But, you just got to move on. And clearly, he didn't want to play for them. And they
weren't going to pay him. But people don't. They can't get it through their thick friggin' skulls. He didn't want to play for them, and they didn't want to pay him. I love this from Patrick. They were only 7-10 because of lame duck blow it up nature of that season. Jerry was trying to get his book straight. Yeah, well, when Dak Prescott got hurt early on in the season in that game against Atlanta, they had to play Cooper Rush, and then they had Trey Lance that last game of the season, get him some reps, right? So. Look, they're not going to be a very good football team. Either are the Giants. It's going to be Washington and the Philadelphia Eagles, 1-2 in the NFC East. And that's the reality check. I think people get so enamored and too close to some of these players, and they think right away the player always needs to get paid. That's not the case. It's not. And you guys are still killing me for Sam Darnold. He won 14 games last season. Like, get off Sam Darnold. He took advantage of it. He won 14 games, put up monster numbers, and he got paid. Let's see what he does this season. If he plays well this season, please do me a favor. Come on the air and tell me once again you were wrong about Darnold. I say it to say this. We have no idea how it's going to pan out. Nobody knows. You want to talk about week 4, must watch? Here we go. What if Micah Parsons is invisible and has no tackles? Then you know what everyone's going to say on Monday? Dallas Cowboys made the right move. I mean, seriously, that's what they're going to say. Or Micah Parsons has 3 sacks, a strip sack, and a fumble return for a touchdown. I can't believe that Dallas Cowboys traded this guy. It's like, stop watching some of these other shows because that's the crap that they're trying to push. All we're saying is objectively, the player handled it wrong. The GM/owner, who's made a career of handling things wrong, but has made a lot of money for the franchise and a lot of money for the NFL, decided, I'm the boss. You're not going to speak to me that way. I'm not going to pay you. The hell with you. You don't want to be here. We don't want you to be here. And we move on, as you mentioned. And that's it. You move on from it.
Yeah, and Q, in the NFL, these player holdouts, hold-ins, and these contract situations, players do not have leverage. Don't forget, he was under contract to this team. So really, they could have just sat there and said, all right, miss out on game checks because we don't have to do anything. But they just saw, for the future of the franchise, it was just better to move on from him now. And like I always say, after the draft, give it 2-3 years and we'll know who won this trade. But yeah, you can't come out right away and say, oh, they were wrong, because think about the Khalil Mack trade. He goes from the Raiders, and he was dominant for the Bears for 1 season. But they didn't really win anything. They didn't get any playoff wins out of it. And you'd have to say, okay, the Raiders won that deal. But, in the end, we're just going to have to see.
This almost reminds me of Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams was a stud, right, for the Jets. But what did he really do with Seattle? He didn't do anything, and he's bounced around. Tennessee, Detroit, and now the Raiders.
Yeah,
now, I'm not saying that Parsons is that guy, but hey, man, everyone fell in love with Jamal Adams after all the nonsense against the Giants when he had a couple sacks and a strip sack and the fumble. I'm telling you, this is just me. And you guys can kill me all you want. But I've had a bunch of Cowboys fans text me, email, direct message me, and they all said the same thing I said. He's an overrated player. He's not a great player. He pads the stats, and you're not sitting here watching a game saying, man, he's wrecking the game. He's not a Lawrence Taylor. He's not a friggin' Myles Garrett. He's not a game wrecker. And I'm not paying him $200 million, 40 something on $1 million a year. I'm just not. And again, that's just my opinion. You can kill me if you want. Mark chimes in. Parsons, a good pass rusher, but bad against the run. Not worth 47. Need to stop the run before you can run past. Dallas 32 against the run last year. Okay, move by me. Parsons was overrated and paid. And overpaid. There you go. Sounds like a Cowboys fan. Sounds like a smart Cowboys fan. And a astute listener to the show.
We're going to have to see, and the thing is, it's Jerry's money. He's already wasted a lot of it on Dak Prescott and a bunch of nonsensical moves, and it just has not worked out for him. Now, the Green Bay Packers, we know, don't have an owner, but, in their scheme, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in with Rashawn Gary and a lot of the pieces that
I think it takes pressure off Gary. I think it takes pressure off Gary a little bit, right?
Right. And then Lucas Van Ness, who they drafted out of Iowa a couple years ago, really kind of been a disappointment. But this defense has a lot. You have Edrin Cooper in the middle. You have Xavier McKinney, who you're familiar with, coming over from the Giants, playing very well at strong safety for them. Last year, this defense in Green Bay was very highly ranked, only allowing about 19 points per game. But you did see their vulnerabilities when they played the Eagles in playoffs.
Yeah, Sarge chimes in. Q, I can't believe you're actually defending the Cowboys. What the hell's going on with you? I'm not defending the Cowboys. I'm not. By the way, speaking of the NFC East, I was having this conversation earlier today, actually with my uncle. You see how dirty little tactics Howie Roseman, the unwritten rule, claiming guys right off the IR, injured guys. Did you see that? How the rest of the league and some of these other teams are a little ticked off here with Howie?
Well, Howie's going to have gamesmanship. He's going to try to prove that Eagles roster by any means necessary.
Is it an unwritten rule, though?
You blipped out there.
Is it? Do you deem it an unwritten rule, though? Right? You don't claim waived injured players.
Yeah, these guys, some of them are buddies. They're cronies. They're friendly with each other, and then other ones, they're like, all right, let me stick it to this guy. So you just never know with some of these personnel guys and how they're trying to, change the system around. But we've seen this gamesmanship before. Sure. I still remember when Deion Sanders unretired and he was trying to go somewhere, and Marty Schottenheimer blocked him because I think the Chargers held his rights for some strange reason. So, it was just like, I don't know. It's crazy how that works. Some of these guys, but it's going to be fun. I'm ready for the season to start, man. It's fun debating all this stuff. Who won this trade and training camp and who looks good in preseason.
Just get to the games.
The real games are starting, man.
Yeah. And again, there's always going to be an over-exaggeration no matter what, because that's what we do. We overreact. On Monday, we'll overreact. On Thursday, if the Eagles get blown out, if the Cowboys get blown out 35-10, you know what? Chances are they would have got blown out 35-10 with Micah Parsons. Chances are. Right. Whether he was going to play, suit up, be ready to play. I don't even know if he's going to be ready week 1 Green Bay. But point is that game is set up where the Eagles, it's a coronation. You raised a banner. Here we go. Thursday Night Football, kick open the season. And they're probably going to kick the snot out of the Dallas Cowboys and probably beat them 35-10. So it's not like if Parsons, was there and he was on the field, the game was going to be any different. I think this game is set up where the Dallas Cowboys are going to get absolutely embarrassed. And then you're going to have the clowns come on Friday and see, this is what happens when you trade away a guy like Micah Parsons and his caliber. It's like, come on, man, just stop.
Yeah, it's an easy take, And
it is an easy take.
The Eagles were already a 7-point favorite going into this game. And, maybe the line moved by a half or something.
7.5, that's it.
Yeah. And the Eagles, Mulata's done pretty well against them. The Eagles have always run the ball kind of down their throat when they played against Parsons in that defense. So I don't think a lot's changed in that regard. And like I said, just kind of look at the season, see how it plays out. But the big question here is where do those draft picks kind of end up, and how do
Sure.
the Packers do?
Yeah. And listen, now there's a lot of more, there's going to be pressure, obviously, on the Green Bay Packers. When you make a move like this, you are all in, you're going for it. It does change the complexion of the NFC North. I still think Detroit's the best team in that division. We don't know about Minnesota, and we certainly, there's already reports coming out in Chicago where if Caleb Williams doesn't get off to a fast track and a fast start, he might be benched. I mean, we talked about this last week with some of these young quarterbacks and the lack of patience with some of these young quarterbacks. We're seeing it with the Colts with Anthony Richardson, Cleveland going with Joe Flacco. Gabriel's going to be number 2. Here's another comment where I thought I got hammered. I think Gabriel, believe it or not, is the quarterback of the future with the Browns. I don't think it's Shedeur Sanders. I think they're extremely high on this kid, and I give it 4 or 5 weeks, and he's going to be the starter.
Yeah, they're going to give him his opportunity probably first. I don't think any of them are future, to be honest with you, Q. That organization has no plan, don't know what they're doing. And Gabriel, he just reminds me so much of like a Ty Detmer type, Kellen Moore, the guy who won a lot of games in college, but he does not have the arm strength to compete week in, week out in the National Football League. Yeah, he knows the offense better, probably in Sanders at this moment. But the Browns, for all the talk everybody's had about these quarterbacks and everything, they're going to be a bad team. Kind of like what you were saying about Dallas. We knew they were going to be a bad team, and I'm like, all right, they've decided their depth chart, and they sent Kenny Pickett packing. But yeah, it's probably going to be pretty ugly for them. And we talked about their early season schedule is not going to help them.
Yellow Snow chimes in. Q, I loved your monologue. You were dead on. Parsons going to show up in Green Bay when it matters. All those playoff games, he did absolutely nothing. Al chimes in. Q, sorry, not sorry. Paying him 47. Get the hell out of here. Stop crying. Tell your fan base to stop crying. No way Parsons was wrecking games like a TJ Watt. Excellent, excellent opening monologue. Hey, listen, that's what it's all about, right? Again, I have to do something with the March for Arch. I started that, and now I feel it's being stolen, but that's okay. It is about making the plays when they count the most in the postseason. That's it. That's how you are judged. If you're going to get paid an enormous amount of money come playoff time, you got to have that strip sack. You got to have that sack on 3rd and 3, and they're driving. You have to have that pick. You have to have the game-altering play. He has not yet to do that. Now the story can still be written, but it's going to be interesting, like you said, and we can talk about this until we're blue in the face. But ultimately, I think they're walking into just a lion's den on Thursday night, to be quite honest with you. And now, does a move like this, when you talk about the locker room, does a move like this divide a locker room? And the reason I ask you this, with his pod, and I know I keep going back to this, and I know it's still probably bothering some people, and quite frankly, I don't really give a shit. He called out his own teammates. He called out some of the play calling and the scheme and design on his podcast. I'm wondering, do you think there's a sentiment now in that locker room that are like, I can't believe they traded him. He was kind of like the heartbeat of the defense, our best player. Or do you believe, and again, this is purely speculation, some players are probably thinking to themselves, you know what? We got rid of the malcontent. We got a fresh start here.
Q, he's going to have his supporters in that locker room. I don't think it's like, I was covering the Eagles when they got rid of Brian Dawkins, and there were a lot of unhappy guys in that locker room. I don't think it's like that.
But that's apples to oranges, because that guy played with passion and heart, 125%. Like, he was the heartbeat, and he was also aging at the time, right?
Yeah.
It's a different time.
And then he played, for Denver pretty well for a couple seasons. But the thing is, these antics that Parsons had, not handling his business. You saw, the other guys like Cook. He came to camp. He kept his mouth shut. They got the deal done. But he was kind of being malcontent at practice. And then you saw him laying on that table at the preseason game. I think some of the guys were like, all right, he's not here with us. Let's move forward. And it's just going to be interesting to see if this group can gel. But, yeah, it's definitely something that could fracture a locker room.
All right, next week we're starting BYP. Lloyd will be jumping on as we breaking down these lines. And again, we'll be on 1029. We'll be on WON again, Channel 48 in Brooklyn. Let me see what Vince says. You think Parsons doesn't say same things to his teammates' faces? I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he is a no BS guy. Maybe he says it to their faces. I don't know. But again, Vince, don't call me soft. I'm just telling you the way it is. Organizations don't like that. Like, I feel you guys, everyone thinks you wake up in the morning and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Unless you got FU money, you can't. You go to work, you clock in, you clock out, you follow a semblance of rules, protocol, structure. And if you don't, you're out of a job. I know you guys don't want to hear it, but that's the reality of the friggin' real world. Like, what color are the clouds in your world? I mean, honestly, seriously. Like, think about this. Be pragmatic for a moment. So if I'm Jerry Jones, if I'm a billionaire owner of America's team in the Dallas Cowboys, and everything that pops out of his mouth, anything that has to do with the star is, tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold on the mothership, on Fox, on XM, everyone's talking about anything that has to do with the Dallas Cowboys, right? Or the Cleveland Cavaliers when it was LeBron, or the Yankees. That's all anyone talked about in that order. It was rinse and repeat. So with the Dallas Cowboys, even for 1 minute, if you do what you do, it's not going to sit well. It has nothing to do with where he's at now. The Packers paid him, but there are reasons the Cowboys didn't. And it really should not be hard for you guys to comprehend that. You just don't want to see it. You're stuck. You're stuck. It's like an arrogance. It's like narrow-minded thinking. If you go to your job and you constantly piss off your boss or your subordinate or your insubordination, you're going to get written up. You're going to be suspended. You're going to be out of a job. Then you can't sit there. So maybe you get a better job. That's fine. Well, I'm working right now. Yeah, but it didn't work out at the last job. It's an ugly divorce, exactly as Scott says, right? I mean, it's not ugly, but again, you walk away, you want the dishes, I keep the dog. That's exactly how it is. Parsons got paid, and the Cowboys got rid of Parsons, and they didn't have to pay him. I just really, that's in the simplest form. But there is a certain way that you do have to act in the NFL. I just don't know why. We've covered the league for how many years now? For how many years have you and I been going up to the draft and practices and covering the Eagles, and I was covering the Giants and covering the Jets, and we are going down to see all this stuff, right? All this stuff. Sometimes you have to just say enough is enough. Like, you have to act a certain way. And whether you guys sit there, you want to hear me say it or not, this is not the old man on the porch. It's just how it is. It's corporate America. It is what it is. You're not making six figures working for corporate America and walking into the job with sweats. You're not. You got to wear a suit. You got to play the part. And eventually, I know this for a fact, speaking with former players and scouts and even some GMs over the years. When we started to get the boom in social media, a couple former GMs were telling me, oh my God, man, if I don't want my players doing any of that stuff. They don't want the dirty laundry aired out. Yes, it's refreshing for guys like us. We love it. Oh, man, I can't believe he said that. He was calling out Diggs. You got to catch that ball. They're mocking it up. They're laughing. Oh, my God, he's calling out Schottenheimer. He's calling out McCarthy. Organizations don't like that. It's one of the reasons you and I know for a fact anytime players would do radio interviews, who the hell was next to them? The friggin' PR guy. It was Spadaro. Because they want to know exactly what the hell they're saying at all times. If it wasn't Spadaro and I was doing the Giants, it was Hanlon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And as you said, it's the optics, and it rubs people the wrong way. And sooner rather than later, maybe it wasn't reason 3, but it could have been reason 27, right?
Right, and it's all leverage, Q. And in the National Football League, with the collective bargaining agreement, we all know their contracts are basically a series of one-year deals. They don't have guaranteed money. This is not the NBA. All these guys are like, I demand a trade. Well,
right.
Most times, 9 times out of 10, the owners say, go pound sand because they're under contract. And
right.
It's a business.
It is, Lloyd, and it's not right or wrong at the end of the day. It's again, I keep going back to this well, and I'm sorry for belaboring the point. You're dealing with billionaires, man. They don't have time for that bullshit or nonsense. If you rub them the wrong way, they don't care how good you are. You're going to get moved. You're going to get traded. You're not going to get paid. Or sometimes they might just say, yeah, it's worth the headache. Right?
Yeah. And it's their team. And you're talking about the guy who has the highest net worth franchise in all sports in America. So he's got the ego, you know. He wants everybody to know that his team is top of the line.
Yeah.
But on the field, they're not. You know, there's a reason that they just have not. They've made bad decisions, and his heyday was in the 90s. And this roster is just not good enough right now.
It's not. Damon chimes in, fan over 40 years, wasn't a game changer when needed. That's true. And that's where you get paid. Bigger story on Monday, though. Are we talking about, does the hoodie get a win in his debut, or does Arch go on the road with Texas and defeat Ohio State? Because we can't be, the talking heads on the mothership will talk about Micah Parsons. That's not happening. So again,
Yeah, if Texas can go there and get that W, I mean, everybody will be talking about that already. There's a lot of pressure on Arch Manning. His first true start. I know he made some smaller starts last year, but that game's huge, and I'm looking forward to it. 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Do you think Arch? Do you believe if they go undefeated, they win a national championship, say he wins the Heisman, does he come out, or does he stay for another season?
Oh, Cuter, there's no way he stays. He's getting 6.5 in NIL, and we just saw Ward get $48 million guaranteed from the Titans. So, I just don't see him going back to school. What's the point if he wins the Heisman in national championship contention, even win it? I mean, there's just nothing there to be gained. He can get hurt. You know what I mean? Look what happened to Carson Beck. He came back from Georgia, had a terrible season. Now he's at another school.
Scott says, trade is not surprising. Cute question is, can the Browns get to Arch before the Cowboys? D says, I think JJ wants Arch. I'm telling you, the march for Arch. So, again, this is purely speculation, right? It's that dicey rabbit hole type of game. John Bueller from Fanside had brought up several very good points. Now, you tell me if you agree or not. And I didn't think about this. He said there's 3 teams you will not see Arch Manning get drafted by: the Saints, the Giants, and the Colts. The Saints because of Archie Manning, the Giants because of Eli Manning, and the Colts because, obviously, of Peyton Manning. Like, you don't want to be that guy to follow those, even though 2 out of 3 Arch Manning had a nice career, was just in a bad situation with the Saints and then later on with the Oilers. But I didn't think about it like that. Now, if he performs well this season, they go undefeated, they win a bowl game, he's a Heisman, whatever, he comes out, as you mentioned, because of the money, right? The what do you call them? The bonus babies, top 5, right? The high-end quarterbacks, top 5 draft picks. I mean, can you imagine like a Cowboys?
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Browns.
They try to control the narrative like they did with Eli and pigeonhole him somewhere. But I truly believe in whatever team's at the top, and if he's in a draft, they're going to take him. You know what I mean? Someone could say Klubnik's in there out of Clemson and some other guys, but he seems to be head and shoulders above those guys. And it's like the Saints. I really think the Saints are set up. Hometown guy to bring him in. Yeah, I know Archie got beat up a lot, there coming out of Ole Miss. It was a tough career for him there. But
is that easier to follow than, say, Indianapolis and Peyton and Eli and then the Giants?
Yeah, I believe so, because it's been so long in between his grandfather and him, and
it's coming like full circle.
Yeah, and he would get Kellen Moore, an offensive guy, and I truly believe Mickey Loomis, the GM down there, is on a hot seat, and the Bensons may make a change there. So yeah, he would just bring that whole freshness to the organization.
And then that means if the Browns stink it up, then they can go for the kid in Clemson, Kate Klubnik.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he'd go there and be in that mess. They just signed another quarterback the other day.
I know.
I'm like, what are they doing?
You guys want to kill the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. How about it's like anytime a quarterback's available, Cleveland says, we'll just go sign him. I mean, why not? Why not? Yeah. Let's just go sign him and see what happens.
It's incredible.
And I'm telling you, It got very chippy on the chat board today. It got very chippy on a Friday. I thought it was going to be a regular soft Friday, Labor Day weekend, as you mentioned, dogs, hamburgers. Even though for some reason, Lloyd says to hell with the ketchup on the hot dog. It's got to be the mustard. You stick the ketchup on the hamburger. You call it a day. You got college football. How about I was killing Trent Dilfer. How about Trent Dilfer, right? Boise State to freak out of the 25, please. Oh, that was a big win, South Florida last night. Your boy Dilfer had all you can handle against Alabama A&M. Sure, to put a smile on your face. They won the game. He was very emotional after. Trent Dilfer. I don't like Trent Dilfer because he made one friggin' play in the Super Bowl that beat the Giants. That's it.
Yeah, these former players now are trying to become coaches. It'd be interesting to see if they can get it done.
Listen, Delaware State hung in there against Delaware.
Yeah, and then Eddie George is at Bowling Green, so
yeah.
They're all trying to make their mark, and we'll see. But coaching's hard. It's not as easy as playing, and these kids are different that you have to motivate.
Yeah. All right, brother. I know next week we'll start BYP. We'll try to bang something out maybe this weekend, time permitting, but then Back Your Play is back with Lloyd and myself. We'll break down all the week 1 NFL games. He'll be joining us next week as well, later on the week with Labor Day on Monday. Excellent stuff. Appreciate you tolerating me on a Friday as you typically do, but I always appreciate a couple moments. Don't forget, follow Lloyd on X at Lloyd Vance. Have a wonderful holiday and Labor Day. And of course, I'll connect with you over the weekend, pal. Appreciate you.
All right, Q. Talk to you later.
All right, there you have it. My guy, Lloyd Vance. Excellent stuff. Kevin C. chimes in. Q, you're pretty impassioned over the Dallas Cowboys today. Are you a turncoat? Laugh out loud. No, absolutely not. Listen, everyone's going to have their opinion, and we can agree. We can agree to disagree. We don't always have to agree. And I like that it gets a little heated and we go back and forth. But all I'm saying is don't ever think for one moment a player is bigger than the team. A player is not bigger than the franchise. And ultimately, an owner has the final say. Whether this works out for the Packers or the Dallas Cowboys, nobody friggin' knows because it's 24 hours later. You got to let it play out. Are we going to overreact week 1, week 2, week 3? Sure, right? Because that's what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. But I still stand by my opinion and my take. I'm not paying him that type of money. And the Dallas Cowboys decided we're not going to pay him. He doesn't want to be here. That is what you call a mutual parting of the ways. As Scott mentioned, the divorce, hey, you want the house, I get the car and the dog. We're not walking away 100% happy, but we're walking away somewhat satisfied. And once the season starts, that's it, man. All bets are off. The season starts. Dallas is not going to be a very good football team this year. They're just not. They're just not going to be a good football team. They are going to struggle this season, period. And you can sit there and say, you got rid of their best player on defense. Okay. But I still go back to what a sentiment of you guys said. And I feel as though a lot of you guys are backing me in this regard. A lot of you guys see it. And those that are saying, the Cowboys did them dirty are not seeing it. I need a player that is going to appear in the big spot. Give me a guy that's going to wreck the game. Especially, when we're talking about defense, man. Defense, you have to, again. And now what's happening is that, you're going to get these reports that the agent came out, Parsons' agent, Mulugeta, reached out to Jerry Stephen Jones about a deal. The agent told either play on 5-year option or get trade. Is it, again, which maybe this might come out. Is it possible also the agent rubbed the Cowboys the wrong way? The agent going back and forth with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, shoving up this, shoving up that. Micah Parsons got paid, so he's not getting rid of this agent because he broke the bank with the Green Bay Packers, but stuff gets lost in the sauce. That's all I'm saying. Jermaine chimes in, I'm fine with the trade. You can't rush the passer if you can't stop the run. Also, I think in big moments, he disappeared. That's been the sentiment on this Friday. The big moments. You want guys that can dominate in crunch time, in the clutch. Yeah, man, it's great to have a hybrid linebacker in that build and call him a defensive end. strip sack and get to the quarterback during the regular season and just stop, Diggs with all those return interceptions, feast or famine. And more times than not, the kid gets burned, right? It's great to put up those numbers. They're gaudy numbers. We love those numbers. You got a 25, 26-year-old, 12-round pick, Dallas, Penn State. Here's the future. And then bam, burst onto the scene, 13 sacks, 13 and a half, making plays. But come talk to me come playoff time, man. Playoff time. Reggie White. Packers, God said go to Green Bay. Reggie White goes to Green Bay, and he just dominated. Lawrence Taylor, playoff times, dominated. Haley in the playoffs, dominated. Aaron Donald, dominated come playoff time. These guys were dominating. They just made game-wrecking plays where you had to sit there, and when you're watching the film, you're saying, we got to be careful of this guy. We got to chip. We got to double. We got to get rid of. We got to figure out a way. Run against him. Run around him. Run away from him. You look at those games against the Philadelphia Eagles, that offensive line mauled Micah Parsons. They absolutely mauled him. He was non-effective. He just did not make plays. All right, tomorrow, I'm dropping another edition of On Cue on a Saturday, so we'll post that. For all the new guys that were commenting, thank you. Follow the YouTube channel, subscribe, you get the notifications. We're back at it on Monday. Yes, on Labor Day, we're going to be back at it. And then Back Your Play next week. That'll be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple. Also, it'll be on WON TV 48 in New York every Sunday, 11 to 12. We'll lead you right up to the pre-games on the respective networks, as well as kickoff at 1 o'clock. We'll get you set with the betting lines. Lloyd's going to join me throughout the football season. Our audio of our college football week 1 plays with Nick Costco from Back Your Play and On Cue. They're also up on Buzzsprout as well, on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple. You can check that out. Just go to Back Your Play. Scott, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the comments as well. Appreciate you guys hanging with me like you guys typically do for well over 60 plus minutes. And like I said, love the opinions, love the takes. We like the chippiness. We like to go back and forth. You guys got your thoughts and opinions. I got my thoughts and opinions. That's what makes it great. We might not always agree. We might not always disagree, but we always have fun and try to do a little entertainment for you on a What the Frig Friday edition. By the way, I didn't even get to my What the Frig Friday. I mean, I saw there were so many stories out there. I know I got to hop on Angel's show in a minute. He's at Tampa Joe's in Florida right now doing an Eagles bash. I can't believe I'm going to be surrounded with Eagles fans doing that nonsense in a couple minutes. But I saw the story, the What the Frig story. I guess the girl that slept with like 1,000 people, she's getting engaged. I mean, what the frig if you're that guy? Like, come on, man. Got to have a better head on the shoulders with that. Don't forget, get social with me at Rich Q on Q, on X, on IG. You can follow on Facebook, the youth channel, Rich Q on Q, and TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Good stuff from John Bueller from Fansided. Excellent stuff from Lloyd Vance. You guys out there as well on a Friday. If we don't talk to you tomorrow or Monday, have a wonderful Labor Day. Be safe, be sound. Don't drink, don't drive, don't text, don't drive. Enjoy the barbecues. Enjoy college football. As I mentioned, all the plays are out there on the latest edition of Back Your Play. And as always, have a wonderful Sports Friday. You've been tuned to On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día. We will talk to you mañana.